Then, as I thought it through and discussed with other people, I also realized that actually there are also other audiences. For instance, single women, single mothers, those two have some commonalities or things which are in common with the widows, and they would also find themselves being able to benefit from some of the things or some of the experiences. Then it also came to my mind that what about the people I'll call the perpetrators, or those who actually take those negative actions against the widows? Um, a lot of times it's sometimes just to do with culture, which results in attitudes. Uh, Sometimes it is greed. Sorry to say that, but yeah, sometimes it's also greed. And I started wondering that if they were to understand what uh, the actions cause others to go through, perhaps they could also change. Because I always ask myself that, okay, somebody does certain things to you, but do they ever step back and think, if this person was my wife who's in that position and my children, and this was happening to them, how would I feel? Or in other cases, I even think, because the person who has died and gone is actually their relative. And would they ever question themselves that if their relative was able to actually see what is going on and what is being done to their children and to their loved ones, how would that relative react? So those are things, I think, questions people need to be a bit more broad-minded in trying to look at a situation in a certain way, and not necessarily just go by culture or go by the way things are being done. At this point, I think I should say that I apologize to those who may get offended, because I think there may be some, because sometimes they feel that some of those things shouldn't be talked about. But as far as I am concerned, I feel that I need to speak out about them. And I think for me, it is easier to do so because I'm actually speaking after the fact. After the fact, in the sense that I am not actively going through some of those things at this point in time, because I consider myself to be at the tail end of it, because my children are more or less all grown up now, and therefore I think I can speak about it very, very comfortably and bring out some of those issues. And I would also like to encourage others to speak out as well, because unless you speak out, unless it's out there in the open, things cannot change. So it's important to speak out. And as we journey through the recordings that I'll do, I would request that as many as possible, as much as possible, people do make comments. Those who want to share their experiences can also just give them as comments, and we can just share them even as anonymous experiences. We don't need to say who has shared whatever, but it always helps to be able to share. And I think in sharing, it makes the load lighter for each person. Then the other audience that came to mind as well is they are the couples themselves who currently both lots, both the husband and wife, both spouses are alive. I think sometimes it's also good to be able to just listen in, see the kind of things that happen in the absence of the husband, and then ask yourselves, perhaps there are safeguards you can put in place to ensure that should the other spouse not be there, some of the things don't occur or can be avoided. So I think that is a point which is good to just dwell on. and try to educate yourselves through whatever discussions we have during this process. Then lastly, I think the aspects of wellness, that one really I think would apply to everybody, not just widows. So I think that one everybody can actually benefit from it. Now I tried to look at the statistics, the statistics from various studies that have been done in the last 5 years or so, just to give us an idea of those who are actually affected by this. And from the, I came across a report known as the World Widows Report, yeah, World Widows Report, and it was by the Lomba, yeah, I think it was Lomba, that's the pronunciation, the Lomba Foundation. And what he talked about is that at that point, I think it was about maybe like 2019 or so, which was the latest, with about 258 million widows in the world, and between them, they had about 585 million children, meaning that on average, about 2.3, yeah, about 2.3 children per widow. So you'd find that you'd have about 2 children on average, maybe about 3. But of course, I think in some areas you'd find that there are actually more. Like some of us had 4. Then out of those widows, 1 in 10 live in extreme poverty. They have actually no access to any kind of welfare. So that is something to think about. Then just coming nearer to home, which is Kenya in Africa, and this is sub-Saharan Africa. And in Kenya, the number of widows, as per that report, there are actually 8 million widows in Kenya. And that was at that point in time. I'm sure the numbers have gone up. Maybe we're closer to now 9 million or so. Then within that region, within the countries in the world, and there are a total of 195 countries in the world, when they are listed in order of those which have the harshest environment for widows, Kenya actually comes out number 33. It is the 33rd country in that list, meaning that there are actually 162 countries which have got better environments for widows than Kenya. So when it comes to that, I don't think as a country we are doing as well as we ought to. Then the average ratio of widows to widowers, when you say how many, when you count the widows vis-a-vis the widowers, it's actually 3 to 1, meaning that for every 3 widows that you have 1 widower. So the widows are more, and mainly it's because of life expectancy. Women do tend to live longer than men, so the men die earlier and they leave the women as widows. So in that case, you find that the probability of somebody being a widow is much higher than the probability of somebody being a widower. And then apart from that life expectancy, there's also the other aspect of remarrying after the loss of the spouse. Actually, there are very few widows who remarry. I think from all the number of widows that I've known, and quite a number, it's only two. Got one remarried, the other one uh, got a partner, and they're living together. And I think those are the only ones I know about. With the men, the ones who I know, I think just about all of them got married again. Then the ones who are closest, who were friends to my husband, I think there were three who were fairly close, and out of those, uh, two of them remarried. So, because of that, the widows do tend to be more than the widowers. Then just when you look at more like, try to look at the age, uh, at about 65 years, what is said in that report, you'll find that the number of women who are married and the number of widows is the same. That is at 65 years. But when you move on to up to the age of about 80 years, at 80 years, you'll find that actually 80% of the women are widows. And you'll find that the women, you're more likely to find them as the heads of households. So those numbers, I think, are telling, and where we are as a country in terms of the environment, that's also telling for us. Yeah.